So this is a review for Sentimental Reasons. And with me today is my fellow skunk. Sorry, Austin, but it's Austin Kelly. Say hi.
What's up? Here to talk about For Sentimental Reasons, which is a really good cartoon. I always liked it, at least. I mean, I'm not a Pepe fan, but I really like this one, for whatever reason.
Just a few bits of info here. So it's For Sentimental Reasons, released on the 12th of November 1949. It had a blue ribbon reissue at some point in the late 50s. It's the 572nd in the series, and it's directed by Chuck Jones. You can find this pretty much everywhere. I mean, you can find it in the compilation movie, Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie, but it's also on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 1, the Platinum Collection Volume 1, and the Looney Tunes Superstars Pepe Le Pew set, which for a while was actually out of print when they thought Pepe was cancelled. But anyway, links below if you haven't got any of those sets, which I highly recommend. So, synopsis. In case you're one of the few who hasn't seen it, well, so a happy man, or a happy French man, is shocked to see a skunk named Pepe at his perfume shop. After the gendarme, if I said it correctly, my accent's horrible, is scared away, the man then throws a cat to scare the skunk away. But in a twist, the cat gets white paint on her, and Pepe thinks she's a female skunk, and of course pursues her for the rest of the cartoon. So it becomes a chase cartoon.
Quelle est-ce? Ah, les belles femmes skunk fatales.
Yeah, it has a very convoluted setup in a way. It's good, but then it sort of settles into like a tried and true formula of the classic two-character Warner dynamic with predator and prey, in a sense.
Exactly.
Which is interesting because usually it's literally predator and prey, but here we've got sort of lover and
Lovey.
Lover, I guess, would be the best way to put it. I don't know, but
Lovey.
It's definitely a good one, despite the fact that it is sort of typical in a sense.
Exactly right. Because basically, in terms of trivia, this could be considered the first true Pepe short, where all the subsequent shorts will follow this formula of a female cat getting white paint on her, causing everyone to think that she's a skunk. But that also includes Pepe, who ends up chasing after her for the rest of the cartoon. It establishes the French setting from here on, complete with all the fake French signs and language. See, the previous shorts established Pepe as a French skunk, right? So the character was basically there, but in the first one, Adorable Kitty, he was basically just pretending to be a French skunk and was actually a married American skunk named Henry. Oh, there was just something in her eye, dear. Penny ends up getting caught out, and in Sentimental Over You, he chases after a dog, which, I'm assuming it's New York or some sort of a city anyway. In this one, we're going to get our formula, and what's interesting is, with the subsequent shorts, they have the constraints built in now where they have to somehow get, Penelope Cat, I think his name is, to get the white paint on her and just do it in a clever way that makes the rest of the short work. So, interesting little constraint. But, and the bigger trivia in this one, of course, is that this won the 1949 Oscar for Best Animated Short. See, yay! So Chuck's first Oscar. So according to Chuck himself, producer Eddie Seltzer actually wanted Chuck to stop making this short because he didn't think French talking skunks were funny. But according to him, when the Oscar won, Eddie was more than happy to take the Oscar, and he took it home. Because for those who don't know, it's the producers that would take the Oscars, not the director. So that's why you see even today, an Oscar might be in Best Picture, but if the director's not a producer, he doesn't take that Best Picture Oscar. Or she, I should say. Yes, there are female directors. Sorry, that's slip of the tongue there. Slip of the tongue. But you have a letter, I think, from Tex Avery to Chuck regarding the Oscar win.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of sweet. Tex had been, 9 years away from the Warner studio by this point, because the award would have been given in 1950. He sent this letter in March of that year to Chuck, congratulating him for the Oscar. And it says, and I quote, "Vive le skunk! Congratulations on winning le Oscar with the top cartoon of the year. It had what we all strive for: wonderful cartoons, layouts, and background treatment, flawless animation and dialogue, fresh gags, and original story with terrific audience appeal. You did a beautiful job. Again, congratulations to you and your men, and orchids to your colossal stinker. It held me spellbound. Tex Avery." See, it's kind of cool. A lot of people don't know about that, but I always find those a little sweet. And the original letter has this greeting card format by Western Union, the telegram company. It's got little flowers on the top, as a letterhead. It says congratulations. So it's nice. Tex is a good guy.
Exactly, and even later on, towards the end of Tex's life, he had some correspondence with Chuck, and Chuck always respected Tex. So, yeah,
Oh yeah.
there was definitely a mutual feeling between the two that they respected each other's works, and for good reason. They're both great. Simple as that. So, this is actually a great cartoon, and yes, I am aware that this one may perhaps be overplayed, quote unquote, just similar to things like long haired hair and high diving hair and cartoons like that. But this is a great one. I think this is a wonderful cartoon where if you had to pick one Pepe short, may as well pick this one. It's a classic. I mean, what are
I
your
agree.
general thoughts on it?
I agree. I don't know. It's something about this one where it is the first of the formula in a sense that it just feels like there was more put into it. And then they did some other ones later which are still pretty good, but they just feel tired. It just feels like they put the most work into this one, Chuck and his crew, just because it was the first, naturally, and they didn't have anything in mind of a sequel of sorts or anything. But of course, when a cartoon wins an Oscar, you're going to bring back that format and that sort of character dynamic, which they did, I think 14 more times or something like that. It's definitely a great one. Like I said, even if it is at its core just a typical chase thing, I think it's actually really nice, though. I agree with Tex. I think the colors and the layout especially are super cool. There were some cool camera angles in this one. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught them, but like some from the ground, like a worm's eye view. There's like a tracking shot from the side with Pepe. I don't know. And there's a lot to like, to be honest. It's one of those few Pepe shorts that I actually watch. Like I don't watch a lot of Pepe shorts because they're generally kind of boring and all the same. But there's something about this one I like a substantially larger amount than the other 16, So that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, exactly. And, I first saw this one via the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie, and I love the intro that Bugs gives to it, of course, where he says,
Now, here is a gentleman who knows what chasing is all about. He lives in France, where all good Americans go when they die. And in France, the onlyest reason for chasing anybody is for love.
I just, I thought that was pretty cool, and I like the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie. I should one day perhaps do a review on that because there is some new stuff in there as well. But
Mhm.
can we just appreciate Mel Blanc's awesome fake French, not just from Pepe, but even the side characters?
Pouf, Joseph. Gendarme qu'est la fixe.
I mean, how good is he doing the fake French? It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Man, there's a reason why people call him, one of the greatest to ever live. He really is pretty good. I found this interesting when I was watching earlier. When I think of Mel Blanc, I think of Bugs Bunny and the Daffy Duck voice. And it's just, I can't hear Mel Blanc at all in, like, the Pepe, Like, it really sounds like a different actor. Like, he was so talented that every one of the characters sounds totally different and unique, which I think is super cool, He had that talent in him. It's like an instrument almost. His voice was just so perfectly unique in that sense. I really like that.
Exactly. Yelling as the Happy Man. I don't know why I wrote Happy Man. The shop owner is probably more appropriate. But when he has something like, le help, like he does the high screech, le help, and he has to have le on everything. And of course, Penelope, which is also Mel Blanc, and it's like le peur. Then of course you got the tough characters, the Jeu de Mer. Sorry, my French is awful. I do apologize. One of the few actual French things in there. Well, I like how he's like, I le fixe, when he's like got the tough, and then he's like, just incredible. I could just gush at that all day.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a weird choice at the beginning, though, where you hear a song, and that song is actually the Latin Quarter. And that's been done many times in the Looney Tunes shorts, and always to do with some kind of Aladdin-esque thing, like with Daffy, I think, doing Latin Quarter in one of the Freeze cartoons. But here, he's doing this French variation, and he's just doing all this fake, ridiculous French. It's just, I wonder if it was just a case of Chuck saying to Mel Blanc, "Oh, here's the music. Can you just make up French to it, or did he write everything down?" I'm just curious what his process would have been with that, because it's incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Just so happy. And as you say, the layouts of that scene is also amazing to see, establishing the French town and where we're going to see the rest of the cartoon. I will say the backgrounds. I mean, I know you mentioned that the other Pepe cartoons are not as good as this one, and I do agree to a point, but I think what's consistently great about the rest of these is now that we're in France, I love looking at the backgrounds. Even if for short,
Oh yeah.
even if the Pepe short is just average and I'm not laughing out loud or anything, I'm still there just gobsmacked at just how beautiful the scenery is. I'm a sucker for all things French, right? So I love looking at that sort of stuff. So I can still enjoy these cartoons, even from a stylistic point of view. I also love Pepe himself. I mean, let's talk about Pepe for a moment. I personally love characters who are just completely, and I mean completely unaware of their own shortcomings. I mean, Daffy in this period is just completely obnoxious and he doesn't even know it. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And here, of course, you've got Pepe. He just doesn't understand that he stinks. And I just love that kind of humor. What do you think of Pepe as a character?
I think he gets a little boring after a while. I mean, I think every character gets boring after a while, but I really like him in this one particularly. I don't know. I haven't watched any Pepes in a long time, besides this one, which I watched to prep for the review, obviously. But what I really like is that he's just so like smug and full of himself that he doesn't even know how ridiculous he is. Like the closing line where he says,
it is possible to be too attractive.
Just so beyond stupid to say, There is a lot to like about the character here, even if, like I said, it gets tiring after a while. It's interesting how the Mike Maltese and everyone could still be coming up with really great characters after Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and literally all the greatest cartoon characters of all time. Like, they still had the freshness in their mind to create great stuff, which is, I always found super cool. And of course, later on at Hanna-Barbera, years later, they would still do cool stuff, which is even cooler. I mean, speaks volumes about Maltese's talent, at least, I think, which is awesome.
Exactly right. I definitely think it does. Some of the best quotes in this one is like, I'm the locksmith of love, no?
I am the locksmith of love, no?
And, Viva l'amour, we die together, which would have been cut from a lot of earlier screens because of its, suicide depiction.
Viva l'amour, we die together.
But it's still pretty funny seeing the way it's done, because that was just a play on some of the French, like the hopelessly romantic French stuff, in the movies at the time. And as you already mentioned, it is possible to be too attractive. But my favorite is we must continue with the wooing.
Dainty or not, we continue with the wooing.
Is what I absolutely enjoy. But my favorite scene in this entire short has to be the silent scene where, of course, you got Penelope Cat, who's not named in this short, by the way, but she's in the cage, and Pepper's trying to talk to her, and we don't hear the dialogue. We just hear the strings. So we get a combination of the wonderful Carl Starling strings and then the wonderful acting by Chuck Jones's animators. I mean, what did you think of that scene?
Oh, that's a really good scene. I mean, again, I don't know who to credit for it, but there's a lot of funny physical comedy in there. I can't remember who animated that, but there are just a lot of pieces, like the strings and by Stalling that represent like the dialogue and the lip sync. And of course, it probably was like Maltese's idea on the storyboard. Man, that's such a funny scene. I love that cartoon so much. And he walks on. I love. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, Pepe's character is just so absurd and like so full of himself. He doesn't see how ridiculous and insane he's being. Like, he just walks off screen and acts like he just shot himself. Like, how insane is that? I just love that.
Yeah, exactly right. And, I don't want to delve too much into the whole Pepe debate, that seems to be going around about whether the cartoons are appropriate these days or the humor's appropriate or whatever. But I think that these are still pretty funny to watch. But the ending, I thought, was pretty good. In fact, it's an interesting contrast. In fact, Michael Barrier points out in his commentary, which all of you should listen to, because you actually do hear Mark Maltese speak. He plays a taping of it.
Oh, cool.
And in it, he actually mentions how in the whole cartoon you got the cat who's wasting all this energy, trying to run away, and you got the animation reflecting that, whereas Pepe is just energy efficient, so to speak. Like, he's just bouncing, he's just casual, you know? But then at the end, when the tables are turned and the cat now pursues him, he's the one that's got the animation where he's expending all this energy and she's like efficient, you know? I just thought that was an interesting little touch at the end. Did you notice that yourself when watching it?
Actually, I don't think I did. Barrier makes some great observations. He has some really cool commentaries. And because he interviewed all those people when they were alive, there's a lot of cool stuff. On the Tashlin commentaries also, he plays some Tashlin recordings. No, but as far as the ending goes, I think it's so bizarre. Why does Penelope find Pepe now only so attractive? Because he's been like dunked in blue paint. I don't know, it never really registered with me. I've watched this cartoon like 100 times because I think it was on the first Spotlight collection, which I watched over and over as a kid.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just always been so bizarre to me, but I just like it because, again, it's just so absurd.
Exactly.
Absurd is the word of the day with this cartoon, to be honest.
That's right. Absurd is the word. And now, as an added bonus, my good friend Luke Perkins wants to say a few words about this cartoon, so take it away, Luke.
Alright, after finding out that Austin Kelly and you did a half-hour commentary on this, I'm going to be as quick as I can to talk about one sequence. So, there's this one sequence in the short where basically the chase begins. And Pepe Le Pew starts chasing Penelope, who is disguised as a skunk. It's a brilliant example of not just personality animation, but the way it uses inertia. Or it uses inertia to describe personality animation, which is kind of a broad term nowadays. Now, the actual term, according to Michael Mallory in a commentary of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse, he once stated that personality animation is a character acting in such a way that cannot be any other character. So, Penelope is basically running for her dear life and running away from this really filthy skunk. And meanwhile, the skunk is just jolly frolicking around like bloop, 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 like that. And it's a perfect example of separating two different characters. It's also a good example of how Chuck said, if you can turn off the sound when watching a cartoon, would you be able to clearly see what's happening? Not to mention that this specific chase was actually used by animation legend James Baxter in a lecture one time, and he used it as an example of inertia. And it was for a lecture at DreamWorks Animation when they were making The Prince of Egypt. In fact, you can find that 3-hour-long lecture on YouTube. It's possible that Anthony might put the link in the description. But also, even when the tables have turned near the end of the cartoon and Penelope is the one chasing Pepe Le Pew, they still keep some of their personalities in the way of character animation. Like in the earlier part of the chase, when Pepe is doing sort of a trot and Penelope is scrambling around, the spacing in Pepe's trot is a bit more even, a bit more contained in a sense, while Penelope's scramble is very walled in the spacing, yet it looks very seamless. And in the end, Penelope's spacing when she's the one trotting in the end, it's a bit more faster and a bit more quicker. And when Pepe is scrambling in the end, he is slightly scrambling, yet it's also very contained, which I think is really fascinating to watch on screen. Yeah, so that's pretty much for me right now.
So, as we slowly wrap this one up, I'm going to give this one a solid 9. I enjoyed this one. I think it's a classic, and it's probably one of, if not the best, Pepe Le Pew shorts. I do need to revisit the others, but hey, I think this one's a pretty solid one. I mean, what do you think? What would you rate this one?
I don't know, man. I think I got to give it a 10. Like, I don't know how you could improve on this. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe make it a 9.5 for me. I guess it's pretty. It's close to perfection. I guess it's the ending, maybe a touch absurd. I don't know. But look. Either way, it's a great cartoon and worthy of a time if you're one of the few that hasn't seen it. I believe it's also. I mean, I don't even know if these are on HBO Max. Are they on HBO Max? I don't even...
The Pepes in general? Yeah, I think some of them are. I don't know if this one is, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, definitely let me know because we actually don't get HBO Max in Australia, so that's how I don't know. So
Oh, wow.
people
Yeah.
can actually let me know in the comments whether it is. But that'll wrap this one up. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
See ya.
Madame, you cannot be in earnest. A joke, yes? No. You know, it is possible to be too attractive.